Welcome to TCV HAPPIER podcast, the creative voice, high achievers podcast for Pollyannaish individuals and entrepreneurs with your hosts, Krupal and Jen. A podcast where we explore the overlap between the power of optimistic mindset, creativity, business, design, personal development, science, technology, and spirituality in order to achieve quicker and with less effort. Congratulations on being part of the first ever episode of TCV HAPPIER podcast. Today's podcast is going to be really special. We're going to take a deep dive into the nature of reality to answer the question how to be a high achiever without breaking your back, how to create the successful life you always dreamed of. Stick till the end, and there is a special gift for you. Have you ever had one of those days on which everything just worked out for you? You woke up feeling fresh and happy, had a beautiful interaction with your family or partner or roommate, and as you drove to work, you found most, if not all, traffic lights green. Work just happened during the day fluidly and effortlessly. You came home, and there was some wonderful surprise waiting for you. Perhaps not all of these things happened in one day, but some of these things or similar things happened. Have you ever had one of those days? And then, have you had a day opposite to it, when things went downhill, when everything just kept getting worse and worse despite your best intentions and attempts? I bet you have had at least one. Now, if given a choice, would you like to increase the number of those good days, where things are working for you and not against you? When you are in a flow state and things are just happening? Au contraire, would you like to reduce, if not negate, those bad days where you have a terrible fight with your spouse or boss or your best friend, the deal you have been working on for months fell through, or something absolutely ghastly happened that wasn't supposed to happen? What if I told you that you do have a choice? These experiences are not mere flukes or random accidents or coincidences, but rather cosmic conspiracies. At this point, you might think, I might be crazy or I'm talking some hippie stuff, but I assure you, I'm neither crazy nor talking hippie stuff. I've always thought optimism, pessimism, and realism are academic problems or modes of thinking. Yet, I identified as a realist. I saw things through the lens of probability and chance. I believed that things sometimes work and sometimes don't. It's just how the universe works. But little did I know that I wasn't even scratching the surface of reality. About a month ago, I was thinking of ways to grow my business and I was struggling to find an answer. And while I was seeking the answer, I stumbled upon this TED talk on the power of optimism by Bert Jacobs. I had watched that talk 8 years ago, but something drew me to that talk again. And guess what? I needed it. The talk served as a catalyst for me getting back in touch with my inner optimism and confidence, helped me piece all the science, design, engineering, spirituality, metaphysics, that is, everything I'd ever learned with my own experiences in life. And a pattern emerged that showed that correlationship between the mindset I had, and the experiences of failures and successes I had. But this wasn't the first time I'd seen these patterns, just the first time I'd chosen to believe in them. And I decided that I'm going to be optimistic even at the cost of sounding delusional. But you're only delusional until you make it happen, only until they see the proof. And in less than a month, I had more breakthroughs in my business and in my life than I had in the last few years. I noticed that things are just happening for me. I wake up in the middle of the night with a new idea, or I'm working on something mundane, something routine, and I suddenly stumble upon the solution to a problem that I was struggling for years. Hence, I came to the conclusion that in business and in life, optimism is not optional. It is mandatory. unless you want to leave your success and happiness to probability and chance. I bet you don't want to do that. Something amazing happens, as if it were magic in the true sense of the word, when you firmly believe in your dreams and goals as if they've already happened, as if you are an unstoppable force. I would go to next level, I would say, as if you are the wrath of God, the wrath of God for American listeners. The whole universe conspires with you and draws things closer and closer to you. And the best thing is that it's not a new skill you need to learn. This is something you have been doing your whole life. Everything you see in your life is the result of your past thoughts and feelings. Currently, you are drawing to yourself things you have always believed in. Look at your life and you will see it perfectly reflects what you have always expected and believed. Not necessarily thought or wished, but believed and expected. And this is not a new age idea. All ancient traditions have known it in one way or another. In fact, all people today who have achieved anything extraordinary know this. And even the pop culture knows it in some way. Hence the popular saying, fake it until you make it. There is an ancient Sanskrit adage that says, Swarajya precedes Samrajya. That is, one who has conquered one's mind or oneself has conquered the world. Buddha also said, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts and made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, suffering follows him as a wheel follows the hoof of the beast that draws the wagon. If a man speaks or acts with good thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves him. This sounds awful like Galatians 6 7 to 8 from the Bible. Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. The one who sows to please his sinful nature, from that nature will reap destruction. The one who sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Notice in both the emphasis on the mindset over the quality of action. Lao Tzu also says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your action. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Let's contrast this with Proverbs 4:23 to 4:25. Be careful what you think, because you run. I beg your pardon. Be careful what you think, because your thoughts run your life. Don't use your mouth to tell lies. Don't even say things that are not true. Keep your eyes focused on what is right and look straight ahead to what is good. Philippians 4:8 affirms this by saying, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Now Jesus takes it one step further in Mark 11:22 to 25 by claiming, and Jesus answering saith unto them, have faith in God, for verily I say unto you that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, as ye shall have them, and ye shall have them. And ye stand praying, forgive if ye have aught against any, that your Father also, which is in the heaven, may forgive you your trespasses. We'll come back to the forgiveness part later, but the creative power of the Word is most directly revealed in John 1 to 5. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. In Him was life, and the life was the light of man, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Now, the power of word is not a new concept for Hindus either. For example, in Rig Veda 10, 125, Vak or Vach, the word herself speaks. I am the shining queen, the gatherer of luminous treasures, the original consciousness force of all powers that take part in the sacrifice. The gods established me widely at many places as the one who enters multiply and present manifold. He who eats through me. He who sees through me. He who breathes through me. He who hears what is spoken does so through me. Those who are ignorant of me perish. Hear you who have hearing. I tell you what is deserving of belief. Whom I desire, I make him strong. I make him the possessor of the word of the soul, a seer, one of understanding. I bend the bow of Rudra to slay the destructive enemy of Brahmana the wise. I war with hostile men. I pervade heaven and earth. On the head of this manifestation, I bring forth the Father. My birthplace is in the heart of the Supreme. From there, I spread out along all the worlds of becoming, and with my top touch the transcendental heaven. Verily, I blow like the wind, and take into my rapturous grasp all the worlds and their beings. I have become manifest in a measure of greatness that is beyond this earth and beyond heaven. In Rig Veda, Book 1, Hymn 164, we read, in the imperishable place of the illumining word, in the transcendental ether, all gods have taken their seat. Who does not know this place? What can he do with the illuminating word of the Veda? But they who know it, they sit here together in union. But this idea is not merely spiritual. It is also based in practical experience of some of the most successful people the world has ever seen. For example, Bruce Lee said, don't speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself, and you can change your life. What you are not changing, you are also choosing. And it's also well founded in modern physics and psychology. As a man who has devoted his whole life to study of the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you, as a result of my research about atoms this much, there is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particles of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atoms together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and an intellectual and an intelligent mind. Beg your pardon. This mind is the matrix of all matter, says Max Planck, Nobel Prize winner, physicist, and originator of quantum theory. Modern physicist Fritz Capra also says the fact that modern physics, the manifestation of an extreme specialization of rational mind, is now making contact with mysticism, the sense of religion, and manifestation of an extreme specialization of the intuitive mind, shows very beautifully the unity and complementary nature of rational and intuitive modes of consciousness, of the yang and the yin. Psychologically, it can be illustrated by what's popularly called the red car theory. To grasp the essence of red car effect, consider this basic experiment. Question yourself, how many red cars did you spot today? Chances are your initial response might be, none that I recall. But if you shift your focus to specifically spot red cars, you will suddenly notice them frequently, as if they are materialized from nowhere. This experiment reveals an important aspect of our perception and interaction with our environment. When we don't actively look for something, our brain tends to filter out a significant portion of sensory data. This selective attention helps us concentrate on immediate priorities, but also leads us to overlook potential chances and experiences that are within our reach. In recent years, this law that we have been talking about for a while now has been popularized by several names, such as law of attraction, law of manifestation, law of expectation, the secret, etc. To be honest, I don't know how this exactly works. I mean, I have my own theory, but really no one knows how this works. There are so many explanations from psychological to spiritual, but I don't really care how you explain it, whether you explain it through quantum entanglement or sensory gating, as in Redcar theory, or as the power of prayer. One thing I know for certain through my direct experience, and that is the law works. It works. And to make it work for you, you need to focus on one thing that you want to happen, the outcome you want, not the 100 things you don't want, nor a half hearted acceptance of maybe this will work or maybe it won't, because doing so leaves it to probability and chance. I like to think of it this way. Today, we scientifically know that everything is energy, everything is vibration and frequency, not unlike radio frequency. Even our thoughts have frequencies. In fact, today you can measure those without physical contact with your head. Can you imagine that? Now, if you think of your brain as a radio set, you have to tune it to a frequency you want to stream, as you tune your FM radio to the frequency of your favorite radio station. Now, you can't be halfway between those two frequencies, right? If you do so, you'll only hear static or poor quality reception of the station you are closest to. The same is true with the law. Recall the idea of forgiveness we glanced over earlier. It is really important because you can't be in attunement with two frequencies at once. So you can't think of opulence and simultaneously think of financial wrongdoings in the past or present. That's where optimism comes in. Now, even if you put the law aside for a minute, you still have to believe that it works 100% of time. You know, you have to believe that something will work out. Otherwise, you don't really give it your best. You will always be thinking of plan B and plan C instead of giving all you have got to the plan A. And that's the difference between success and failure. In Sherlock Holmes' Study in Scarlet, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle writes, I consider that a man's brain originally is like a little empty attic, and you have to stock it with such furniture as you choose. A fool takes in all the lumbar of every sort that he comes across, so that the knowledge which might be useful to him gets crowded out, or, at best, is jumbled up with a lot of other things so that he has difficulty in laying his hands upon it. Now, the skillful workman is very careful indeed as to what he takes in his brain attic. He will have nothing but tools which may help him in doing his work, but of these he has a large assortment, and all in the most perfect order. It is a mistake to think that little room has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. Depend upon it, there comes a time when for every addition of knowledge you forget something that you knew before. It is of the highest importance, therefore, not to have useless facts elbowing out the useful ones. There is another notion that one needs to overcome when working with the law, and that is the idea of working hard and burning the candle at both ends. The key to success in life, my friends, is not doing more things, but doing better things. Doing more of what you have already been doing will only give you more of what you already have. Hence, it is important to do something different. And it is important to just sit and still your mind in order to follow the intuition of your heart or intuition coming from above, and not to be deceived by the idea of experience either. Nobody who has ever done something new or great has had any experience or idea about how they are going to accomplish it. Neither did anyone around them. Before the Wright brothers' first flight in 1903, New York Times predicted that airplanes would take 10 million years to develop. And only 9 weeks later, the Wright brothers achieved manned flight. The same thing happened with 4 Minute Mile. The experts were claiming that it's biological impossibility, and once someone achieved it, someone was able to do it, then suddenly you had kids breaking that record. The pathologically cynical will always find a reason to complain. And so the idea of experience is relevant when manifesting one's dream. Ignore the real world, forget the idea you hear all the time, and that is that will never work in the real world. Screw that idea. You just have to realize that whatever is needed to be successful and perfect is within you in this moment, here and now. Like the whole oak is in the acorn. There is no rush, there is no competition. You are unique and you have your unique path, you have your unique purpose. And no matter what you do, you can't go wrong. Regard yourself as a cloud or a wave. Rest when you want and float around or flow as you like when you are inspired to move. Most important thing is to be content and happy, to live in ananda, the unconditioned bliss. If you chase something, it will only run farther away. But if you attract it, the very same thing will start following you. Don't chase, attract. Because when you are chasing something, you are in the frequency of lack. You're in the frequency of I'm not good enough or worthy enough. Hence, despite your best attempts, you will manifest lack. You will not gain what you chase, you will gain what you believe you're worthy of. Belief precedes action. When you believe you're worthy, you will act worthy and attract that thing in your life. It is exactly like tuning to a radio station you want to listen to. You must have experienced this while encountering a big or complex problem at work you're desperate to resolve. The harder you try, the more frustrated you get. And the more frustrated you get, the farther away the solution from you. In fact, after a while, it seems like you're farther away from the solution than ever before. You might have worked on it for months. This is also evident in personal dealings with people. The more you chase a person, the more uncomfortable they feel and they are pushed further away. But the more confident you are and the more worthy you feel, the more attracted they are to you. That's why it's also called the backwards law. Research supports this fact too. When men are in relationships, they are more attractive to other women. A study from Oklahoma State University found that 90% of single women were interested in a man they believed was taken, while a mere 59% wanted him when told he was single. There is just something about not seeking something that makes that thing seek you. Funny enough, Sherlock talks about this too in his own way. Holmes refers to this as a three pipe problem. This basically means engaging with something that requires you to think about something absolutely different than the problem at hand for a significant amount of time. Three pipe problem is a quote taken from The Red Headed League, one of 56 short stories written by Sir Arthur. The full quote reads, "It is quite a three pipe problem, and I beg that you won't speak to me for 50 minutes. But for it to work, it's essential to choose the right activity, be it making a coffee or taking a shower or playing an instrument or going on a walk or watching a movie or something else entirely. This activity has to be engaging enough that it distracts you properly and yet not so overwhelming that it prevents reflection from taking place in the background. It also needs to have some characteristic. It needs to be unrelated to what you are trying to accomplish. It needs to be something that doesn't take too much effort on your part, and yet it needs to be something that engages you on some level." Russian psychologist Bluma Zygarnik designed a study where a group of adults and children were given anywhere between 18 and 22 tasks to perform. both physical ones like making clay figures and mental ones like solving puzzles. But half of those tasks were interrupted so that they could not be completed. At the end, the subjects remembered the interrupted tasks over 2 times better than the completed ones. This proves that your mind wants to know what comes next. It wants to finish, it wants to keep working, and it will keep working even if you tell it to stop. All through those other tasks, it will subconsciously be remembering the ones it never got to complete. It has a need for closure, a desire of our minds to resist uncertainty and unfinished business. That's why it is sometimes important to release the intention and focus on something else, but with a certitude of achievement, that is, with optimism. Your mind will keep working in the background to draw your manifestation closer to you on autopilot. Some people use gratitude practice or journaling for this. Some people practice a sport or martial art. It doesn't really matter what you do as long as it's joyful. This is most essential because most people can't separate their thoughts and feelings from their environment. They habitually think of what's happening around them, and whatever they focus on, they create in their life. Focus is like water. As water doesn't differentiate between the weed and the plant you desire to grow, it nurtures both equally. So focus nurtures whatever you point it towards. It is the most dangerous weapon, and as a society, we have pointed it in the direction of our own demise. Look at the media, for example. There's always so much bias towards negative news, and even social media is often focused around comparison and lack. And if you grow more of what you focus on, then no wonder we as a society struggle to live in peace and fraternity, joy and harmony, love and mutual respect. I want to thank you for sticking till the end. You might be wondering at this point, Krupal, there is just so much information here. It's too much, it's overwhelming. Where do I start? What is the key takeaway? And that's the gift I want to give you. You might choose to agree or disagree with me on some of the points. And that's perfect. I don't expect you to believe something without evidence. But if there is one thing you could take away from this podcast, from this episode, that is to realize the power of optimism. It changed my life. Speaking from experience, it is always better to be optimistic than pessimistic or even realistic. If you can look through the appearance of your life, deny the present empirical evidence, and choose to believe in your greater calling, your intuition, your dream, your purpose, your raison d'etre, to the point of looking almost delusional, almost being the key word here, I guarantee your life will change because your outer reality can't help but shift in accordance with your inner reality. Let your own experience be your evidence. Ignore the real world. In the next episode, we are going to delve deeper into this law while exploring the idea of stress free productivity. We will turn you guys from worriers to warriors. Thank you for listening. Namaste. My name is Krupal, and you're listening to the TCV Happier podcast. Subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already on your favorite podcasting app to get a new, insightful episode from us. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review us. This will help us improve and grow the show. TCV Happier is sponsored by The Creative Voice. With clients on 6 continents and team members on 4, TCV is one of the Atlanta's fastest growing branding, marketing, and design agency. A true value-based agency for the entrepreneurs, by the entrepreneurs. TCV Happier is hosted and written by Krupal Vitlani and Jen Sykes. To learn more about the podcast, you can visit us at www.tcv.agency/happier www.tcv.agency/HAPPIER happier. If you have any questions or want to be invited on the podcast, you can reach out to us on happier at tcv.agency, HAPPIER at tcv.agency. We read and respond to every email. Copyright 2024, the creative voice, all rights reserved. Thank you for tuning.